Today I'm back with some Teach Me Total War replays featuring myself versus my real-life brother, Brother Grimm. He's going to be learning Dwarfs versus Dark Elves today, and spoiler alert, he won't actually have to face the Dwarfs or use them in the tournament that was played. You guys will see those replays as well, but the concepts learned in these two battles will come in handy later on down the line. So without further ado, let's get to the replays. I figured Dwarfs would be a good faction to practice because in the sort of vanilla rule set of Teach Me Total War with no DLCs, they are quite a strong faction. Obviously, Thorek Ironbrow is a free LC lord, even though he is quite new. He's super strong, so this is one sort of lord. Basically told my brother, like, he is the main pick for multiplayer these days. Gotrek also a very strong support. He's got a couple of cannons, some Quarrelers, Miners with blasting charges, and Longbeards up front, 2 Slayers protecting the flanks. For myself, Morathi with a tasteful single Manticore. We've got a Knight Assassin as well, some Sad Swords, a single Harganeth Executioner, some Reaper Bolt Throwers currently trading on artillery, and Dark Riders with shields. So we're going to get things underway. Again, you're just going artillery versus artillery here. I could stand back and trade, but I'm actually going to play forward from my artillery. And that's one concept here. You can see my brother currently is sort of sticking close to his cannons, and this is one thing we talked about in particular after this game, is to sort of, with the Dwarfs it's tougher, right, because they're slower. You generally want to be smart about your positioning with any kind of slower faction like the Dwarfs or Vampire Coast weren't applicable to this tournament, but Lizardmen to a similar degree. You just want to be smart with your positioning, right? So like Dwarfs, it's tough to try and counterattack and push forward and fight away from your artillery, but in some of the other games that I haven't showed, I probably won't end up showing, I was able to like push forward like, Elven Archers or Skaven Slingers and get at these cannons, take down their artillery crews through range fire. This time we're just out-trading them with Bolt Throwers, which is pretty efficient. Honestly, artillery fights can be a lot of RNG, so it's nice it's going well for me. But they are trading pretty evenly so far. The Bolt Throwers have lost one cannon has all 3 of its pieces destroyed. You can see these Dark Riders maneuvering around the flanks. They're just sort of here threatening at the moment, not really actually moving in. What this is doing is pulling these Slayers out of position, so they're not coming to support against the Manticore and the Chariots in the front line. Morathi also drops in. I'm going to throw a Soul Sealer on this pocket of Dwarven troops. Magic resistance certainly does help, but Morathi also probably took some miscast damage from Thorek's little explosion AoE, and the Sad Sword's very quickly going to fade away, but that's fine. Blasting charges also over on the far side, helping to thin out that light Dark Elf infantry, but again, we're just going to use these Dark Riders to kind of pull away these Slayers. Obviously, from the Dwarfs' perspective, you would want to stay close with these Slayers and then just attack the Chariots. You don't really need to worry too much about the Dark Riders. Yes, they're threatening. They're not super threatening, at least as much of a threat as these Chariots and the Manticore and Morathi and whatnot, but with the Slayers out of the way, we can get the Chariots and the Horsemen, Dark Riders here into the Quarrelers, start to tie them down and deal some damage as well, although we certainly are taking a little bit of damage also. I'm not sure the runes being used here. I just heard something go off. But I have seen the Rune of Doom go off a few times there. Rune of Speed actually does put those Quarrelers up to 32 attack, so not pushovers by any means. 32 attack, 28 defense. They can kind of hold their own. My Dark Riders are going to have to retreat there, having really only taken out about 1 of the units of Quarrelers. Have some more Dark Riders coming back from over on the flanks as well. Brother's doing a good job keeping his characters tight. Thorek and Gotrek staying together, protecting each other, not allowing me to get in with my own single entities and try and snipe them out, which is definitely very solid. This cannon's also been able to stay online. You see the Bolt Thrower, for me, also able to stay online and continue kind of picking away here, generating some value. Blows up another artillery piece there, so looking pretty good on that front. There's still a lot of angry Longbeards here I basically haven't touched. And the Chariots are going to have to do quite a bit of work. I mean, Executioners did get in here. Racked up 4 kills. Not too bad. But again, Gotrek and the Slayers kind of get pulled away to deal with the Chariots, right? My brother kind of realizing they're a big threat. But they do leave Thorek kind of high and dry, isolated. I'm able to jump on him with both Morathi and the Manticore. And the response time from the Slayers with the Rune of Doom, they're going to shred those Chariots. You can see the Chariots do get absolutely destroyed, but it ends up being a pretty costly mistake because Thorek's just going to probably get routed off here. And all this meantime as well, Gotrek's taking shots from the Knight Assassin. You can see staggering him, poisoning him, doing some good HP damage as well. So he does eventually get in there, and Gotrek hits ridiculously hard. I mean, like, what is it, 500 weapon strength baseline, something like that. With the huge anti-large bonus, the poison certainly does help reduce his damage output a little bit, but still pretty scary. My chariots and light cavalry pretty much all routed off at this point. Also cleaned up the cannon crew with the sad swords. But this main sort of center fight is where the action's happening, obviously. Going to be a soul stealer, and that will do some pretty good damage, but the executioners get finished off. The Manticore's enraged and fighting a bunch of slayers and Gotrek, so that's not good. I think we did actually straight up finish off Thorek. You can see his anvil laying on the ground over here. That's great for me. Not great for the Dwarfs, but at the same time, Morathi jumping in, trying to provide the AoE debuffs. The Manticore does just still get routed off, and Morathi's in pretty significant danger now. I'm going to have to probably bring in the Canine Assassin to fight Gotrek in melee, perhaps. Bring in these last few tattered sad swords. We've got some Dark Riders coming back from route, and Chariots coming back from route. They can chase some routing units. That explosion actually did a lot of damage to the Slayers. Did some pretty solid damage to Gotrek as well, but Morathi takes way too much damage. Actually gets routed off. We do have a handful more shots with the bolt thrower, though. We can pop it into multi-shot there and go after that nice little blob. From a targeting priority perspective, which is obviously very important for the Dwarfs, my brother's generally done a decent job, but like right here, the Quarrelers, if they could get a volley or two actually on Morathi specifically, just to do enough damage to either shatter her or prevent her from coming back from route, that would be decisive, because if Morathi comes back and gets a Soul Stealer on this big pocket, it will probably deal enough damage to finish everything off. I mean, these Quarrelers are still quite healthy. They could have maybe got some good damage on a volley there. Hard to hit a small target like that, but yeah, Morathi is going to be able to get away here. And that was just kind of the Dwarf's last response to try and shatter her. But the Canine Assassin gets in. He's got poison attacks. He's got really good attack as well. 70 attack, 42 defense, 350 weapon strength. No pushover. Probably one of the best assassin characters in melee. That super high melee attack in the poison, but he takes a bunch of damage very quickly, though. I mean, Gotrek and the Slayers just tear him to shreds. Low defense, low HP. He gets routed off. Gotrek and the other Slayers continuing to hold for the time being. Those Quarrelers managed to beat back the Sad Swords. Cold One Chariots, though, continuing to cycle charge, and they also have their armor-piercing shots, obviously, which don't do a ton, but they do enough. That's going to be the end of those Quarrelers there. Now the Sad Swords, very tattered, coming in here to fight these Slayers and Longbeards in the late game. Dwarfs have lost so much at this point that they're a little bit at risk of hitting army losses, especially once these Longbeards rally. Everything else, obviously, unbreakable. Sad Swords are going to get finished off, but just doing a hair enough damage. Again, the Reaper Bolt Thrower crew, super clutch, can actually chase off the Longbeards, but with Morathi back, all I need to do is wait for a Soul Stealer, and I should have this one in the bag. I mean, Gotrek, I guess, could still get his healing proc, which would be super bad for me. That might actually spell the end. But let's see. I'm going to just go straight after Gotrek, get a really nice charge bonus on him. The healing proc actually goes off, but doesn't heal Gotrek because it's bugged for whatever reason. So he's actually going to go down, which is super unfortunate. That's like horrible luck for my brother, honestly. If that heal actually does go off properly, Gotrek might be able to finish it. I don't know. If I brought in the Bolt Thrower crew and like the Canine Assassin, and I still have Dark Riders, Chariots too, aggressively cycled charge with Morathi, maybe I could have gotten him down. But yeah, very, very close battle. Awesome game nonetheless. And despite, you know, my brother being, at this point, I think he maybe would have played like 8 to 10 games total Warhammer 2 multiplayer. Obviously, very impressive performance, must be said. We'll fast forward a little bit as Morathi finishes off these last few Slayers, and that will be that game. I do have one more replay to show you as well, where we're going to, once again, switch sides. He will play the Dark Elves, I'll play the Dwarfs, but obviously Morathi, Mama carrying super hard, as she always does. Canine Assassin also generates some really nice value. The Sad Swords, they are pretty sad, but a couple of them do pay for themselves. Executioners also pay for themselves, able to get in that center engagement and just wipe some Longbeards. Dark Riders doing okay, good disruption and distraction, which is mainly what they're here for, chasing routing units as well. Cold One Chariots get some damage, don't quite pay for themselves, but again, the disruption's pretty good. The Bolt Throwers kind of combining to take out, I mean, the one had to be sacrificed to the cannons, but largely limiting these two cannons in value was super important for me. Had I taken more damage from them, that probably would have been game. Again, from a targeting priority perspective, it's, you know, to try and out-trade the my artillery, there's an argument to be made that the cannons, since they're probably going to get taken out anyway, and it's not really a cost-effective trade for them to shoot at the bolt throwers, you should just shoot the chariots or Marathi or something more high value where you can actually take out some models quickly, or your own cannons get shut down. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about that. If you should just try and counter artillery or whatnot. But all the correlers do a great job for the most part, except this one, I guess. But correlers generally very cost-effective. Don't need to do a lot to pay for themselves. How about this one Slayer, though? 2,594 damage value, 75 kills, 10,000 damage dealt. Doing some nasty damage to Marathi in that late game. Probably the Manticore as well. Longbeards do okay. They're kind of here to take a beating, which they do. But Gotrek also great damage output. Thorek not so much, more here of a caster support lord, but that's okay. Anyway, let's go on and get to the next battle. Now I've swapped to the Bearded Bros, bringing Thorek and an Engineer. We've also got a Thane as well, Organ Gun, Slayers, a single unit of Hammerers, some Longbeards up front, Miners with plastic charges, and a couple of Brimstone Guns as well, just for some poke. It's always a risk, though, bringing those flying units against Dark Elves, because, of course, we got Flying Marathi and a single Manticore once again, Executioner and Black Arc Corsair with 4 Sad Swords, a couple of Bolt Throwers, and 3 Cold One Chariots. So this is, again, when I'm talking more, we had talked in between these two battles about counterattacking and sort of playing forward from your artillery, and my brother's going to do that this time, kind of push forward and let his Bolt Throwers just sit and do some work. I chose to bring an Organ Gun, which is more of an uncommon pick, but I have seen it occasionally against the Dark Elves. Just the DPS output can be very legit against high-value targets, though we are definitely going to take a pounding from that Bolt Thrower, opening up on the Harganeth Executioners, doing some good damage initially, but I don't know why exactly I've switched onto the Feral Manticore. I really should be staying on the Executioners, as we already lose one model there, but we're going to throw a Smoke Bomb here, Flash Bomb, on this blob of chariots allows me to get some damage on them. Oh no, damage also on the gyros, though, as Marathi comes in and just easily dispatches one, already accruing some great values, so going to be pretty good. That Rune of Slowness, the Smoke Bomb, going to be followed up by a Rune of Speed here. You can see that puts the Slayers up to 58 speed. You see that speed boost, all of a sudden they're just booming, absolutely hustling into this pocket of chariots. The Hammerers as well, 70 attack on 55 weapon strength with armor piercing is going to be ridiculous. They'll chase the chariots off pretty quickly. Meanwhile, on the front line, though, Corsairs are getting in. They'll absolutely blend these miners to ribbons. Executioner is also going to be quite strong, obviously. I come in to drop some bombs from the gyros just very quickly, try and get some value out of them before they're completely gone. Marathi's going to continue the chase. A little bit of a Soul Sealer over on the far side. Does hit a bunch of my units, including Thorek. That's okay, though. Marathi's going to rack up some pretty ridiculous value. But the gyros, I'm going to miss micro pretty badly, and they're just done for at this point, which is not great. But the Engineer is going to be pretty clutch. He does have pretty long range. I'm going to keep him focused on Marathi the whole time. Again, targeting priority is super important for the Dwarfs. Arguably more so than any other faction, because you're so limited in your mobility. Ranged attacks are really the only way to kind of reach out at a distance and deal damage. So here, the Master Engineer is going to, again, be primarily focused on Marathi. If she goes out of range, I'll switch to other targets like these chariots or whatnot, but just keeping him shooting consistently at the right target to apply pressure, kind of that timing pressure. Marathi can't just sit around within range and cackle and cast spells, and you know, it allows me to kind of not necessarily dictate, but at least respond better to my brother's aggression here. But Hammer is getting in, working over those Corsairs. Where the Executioners get off to, they're also in here blending pretty aggressively. The Thane gets dived on. He is going to not take too much damage there. The Thane's a very tanky character overall. Pretty cheap for his cost, too. I don't think I have anything. Yeah, I don't have any items on him, so he's only like 500, 600 points. Here comes Thorek. Gonna get a little lightning strike here. Get it? Anyway. And all this time the Engineer as well, again, just pointed at the back of Marathi and the Manticore, firing shots at whatever he can draw a bead on. Meanwhile, the Bolt Throwers continuing to fire away. The Hammerers had broken through a lot of the Dark Elf infantry, so we're going to push them back and try and get on these Bolt Throwers. Soul Stealer being used individually on them. Probably should have been used on this pocket right here, hitting the Thane, Thorek, and absolutely would have finished that Gyro as well. But, you know, hammers are also a high-value unit you can use it on. They did take a few losses there, so it's not the worst. It is a decently high-value unit to be casting. Nice little pocket of Dark Elves here forming with the Chariots and Manticores. Those Longbeards held out pretty admirably, all things considered, but there's no question they are going to give up that fight. Also got some Slayers way over-chasing there out into the distance, which is potentially a big problem. I'm going to need those Slayers up against some of these large targets here. Bolt throwers still staying online. As the one gets shut down by the hammers. Those hammers absolutely relentless. Morathi and the Manticore are going to try and drop on them. Hammers are not immune to psychology, but we have pretty good leadership. Probably going to tear out here, though. Yep, looks like they do. And I'm just keeping my character box kind of close at this point. Having my gyros continue to deal a little bit of damage to the Cold One Chariots here. Does look like they're going to do enough to force it into an enrage, which is awesome. They'll then go fight the miners in prolonged melee combat. Immediately routes the miners, but hey, there you go. Also had a Doom Bolt drop there on the Thane, I believe. Did quite a bit of damage. Let's see, things are looking very, very close at this point. I mean, obviously, Morathi's taken some significant damage, but the Canine Assassin, the Manticore, Morathi all together in combat will probably best these characters. The Master Engineer and the Canine Assassin kind of having a shootout at this point. The Bolt Throwers also arguably should probably switch to single shot and start trying to snipe. Especially Thorek. I mean, I don't know. I guess he does have quite a bit of missile resistance, right? If we take a look and think about Thorek's resistances here, 25% physical, 15% missile. So you're going to be looking at a total of, what, 40% mitigation against those attacks, given that they're non-magic attacks. So maybe that would be enough to, you know, to still deal some damage. And at this point, any kind of chip damage you can do would be pretty important. But a few kind of things here in the late game. And balance power is still pretty close at this point. And I honestly feel my brother has the tools he needs to win. But one thing here, I forced the Manticore with the Flash Bomb. And then by shooting it, well, I guess shooting it first. And then once it charges in, Flash Bomb it. With the Enrage, it's forced to charge in, right? So my brother throws a Soul Stealer at this point. Really, he needs this Canine Assassin to also put an Assassination debuff, perhaps, on one of these three, and then also dive in with Morathi. Ideally, you'd want all three of these single entities to fight together. The Canine Assassin's not really in a position to directly support this fight, but like Morathi goes over here to try and take out these hammers, which is understandable, but there's an argument that she should have just rear charged while the Manticore is fighting into Thorek Ironbrow and try to get a few hits in there as quickly as she could. Instead, these units are all going to kind of come in a little bit piecemeal. You see the Canine Assassin coming in doing some skirmishing. Honestly, he could just run around for a while with the Canine Assassin and shoot my Slayers with his poison crossbow, which would be pretty good. I mean, these Slayers, you can see as they're kind of chasing him, they're really not in the best situation. So we'll fast forward a little bit more as the Executioners were able to catch the artillery crew, but then somehow just shattered because of that. Again, Morathi, another Soul Stealer here. She does take miscast damage from Thorek's ability, but just, I think the ability timing here, preserving those abilities and sort of using everything all at the same time, and like, here's a good push, right? Like Morathi with the Manticore, they come in, the Canine Assassin's a little bit hung up on Slayers in terms of pathing. Like, he's trying to path directly to this fight, even though Slayers are in his way, he'd have to kind of come up and around to get to it, but with the timing just a little bit off, I mean, you can see that it was impressive. The Manticore ends up going down. Morathi, again, should mostly be targeted on Thorek because he counts as large. Her anti-large bonus will apply here, but she's also taking damage from the Thane and the Engineer, and it doesn't look like she's got another Soul Stealer, so it's going to be super, super close. I honestly think just, you know, tuning up the timing of those late-game abilities and charges and just supporting that Manticore a little bit better when it got enraged down into the Engineer, maybe could have pulled this one back. My brother, like, came very close to winning, I think. At the end of the day, it's these three characters, all very weak, right? All facing off against the Canine Assassin and Morathi. So, really, really good game. Both of these, I had an absolute blast. Me and my brother were both like, oh man, I can't believe this is so close right now. It was a great time. to get a little bit personal, my brother did recently move away. Him and I, my older brother, I should say. Some of you thought it was the younger brother in the previous video, which is understandable because I didn't actually specify, but recently moved away to another state, like 12 hours drive away, and so this was a great opportunity to sort of hang out with him virtually, and play some games, and, you know, he was here back in town for the recent Thanksgiving holiday. So I got to spend a little time with him in real life as well. But I just wanted to say big thanks again to Rubber Duck War for inviting. It was an awesome experience for me and my brother to sort of participate in together. So personal time over. Let's get back to the battle. Thork Ironbrow racking up a massive 2,225 value. The Thane and the Engineer also. The Thane in particular, very cheap. Just nice and defensive, can help hold that hero pocket. The Engineer being able to keep up that range pressure, as long as he doesn't get sniped too hard, as a very, very potent character with flash bombs, ammo refills, and everything. Blasting charges did pretty good against low HP Dark Elves. Slayers also decently. Same thing with the Hammerers here. The Gyros I definitely screwed up pretty bad with, but one of them even still ended up paying for itself. Organ Gun definitely not. Marathi again, almost 3,000 damage value, as to be expected. Mama does the carrying, of course. Wears the pants in this household. Scanite Assassin again pays for himself. Awesome cheap character. Sad Swords, pretty decent here. Executioners again do fantastically for the most part. The Chariots I was able to limit pretty well. I credit that to the Rune of Slowness, the Flash Bomb, sort of comboing those two together, and then the Hammers and the Slayers just going to town on them. Manticore pretty much pays for itself. Bolt Thrower is also very cost effective. In general, this matchup, I mean, eliminating the RORs doesn't change that much. Like, besides, you know, like the Slayer ROR, maybe you'd see the odd Peak Gate Guard in this matchup. For the Dark Elves side, it's nice to have Sisters of Slaughter because they do very well against Slayers, and their speed means that they can chase routing Dwarf units like cavalry almost. But, I mean, honestly, a build like this is pretty close to what I would probably take anyway in a more competitive sense. You know, with like a Bolt Thrower, some Cold One Chariots, maybe one Executioner, Marathi. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of that in the comments below. This vanilla rule set's actually pretty interesting in my opinion. Definitely had a lot of fun with it, but that's all for today. I'm going to be doing a stream by the time you guys are seeing this, probably tomorrow morning. I don't know when all of you are going to be seeing this actually, but anyway, I'll be doing a stream showing the tournament replays that my brother played in from the actual tournament itself. That will be coming up tomorrow, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank y'all so much for watching. Been an absolute pleasure. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz. Thanks again. See you next time.